Hi, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Joe Combs. Thank you for attending this quarter's quarterly partner webinar. We're going to give just a couple more minutes for people to log in, and then we'll get started. So I'll be back on audio in just 1 minute. Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Matt, I'm having problems with my webcam, so can you just confirm you can hear me, please?
I gotcha.
Great, perfect, thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this quarter's partner webinar. My name is Joe Combs. For those of you who don't know me, I manage the channel community here at Latera. I'm joined by Matt Miller, who's going to be presenting alongside of me today. And again, thank you for taking the time out to attend. We have just a couple housekeeping things that I'd like to tell you. One is, if you'd like to leave a message, you can do so in the chat panel on the right-hand side of the GoToWebinar panel. And also, this session will be recorded, so if people are unable to attend or your colleagues are unable to attend, we will have the slides, the recording available for you to distribute. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, my name is Joe Combs, joined by Matt Miller, who's our VP of Drafting Products. Matt is going to do the heavy lifting today and talk about, we have some program updates that I'm going to start with, but then pass it over to Matt so that he can go through some product updates that have recently come out in the drafting space. And also, we're going to start talking about the end of life program that we've announced over the past few months. First with the partner announcement, and then just yesterday with the client announcement. So we'll talk through about what that means, what we're doing, what's going to happen next, all of that good stuff. And then we will have some time at the end for some questions. So as I mentioned, if you do have a question, go ahead and just pop it into the chat panel, and we'll attempt to get to those, as many as we can, at the end of the presentations today. Okay, so with that, let me start with a couple program updates. First of all, about a month ago, we launched our new partner portal. And thank you for everyone that's gone ahead and registered, created an account, and been able to get into the partner portal. I know we did have some issues with logins and passwords not resetting correctly, but I think we're working through those. The new partner portal is going to be a great resource for us. And I'll tell you why, a couple of reasons why. First of all, it gives us the ability to share information out with you, including information we're going to talk about today on this webinar to support the end-of-life migrations from products that are moving into end-of-life. It also lets us share out other marketing content, such as data sheets, cheat sheets, battle cards, stuff that we just hadn't been able to distribute except for on a one-to-one basis before. So I think that's going to be the first thing, is just giving you access to additional resources so that when you need something to present to a client, or when you need more information about how MetaDAC compares to CleanDocs, for example, you'll just be able to go into the partner portal and have that as a resource. The other thing that it gives us is the ability for to push out announcements and important updates. So when we have information on end of life, for example, we'll be announcing that through the partner portal. When we have announcements about maybe an upcoming webinar, we can announce that through the partner portal. So again, we'll start to use that as a important resource for pushing out important program information, product information, pricing updates, etc. So with that, oh, and then finally, excuse me, I'm going to just mention a couple other things here before I advance. We also, for those who are resellers with Litera, I know it's been a challenge trying to get information about upcoming subscriptions or to be able to reference your clients' licenses, especially for those of you acting as like a managed service provider. We now have the ability for you to go into the portal and view your clients' upcoming subscriptions so that you can price your renewals and send your renewal information to Renewals Matter mailbox once you get the client approval, right? So that is going to be, again, just takes a lot of the manual effort out of us having, or you having to email us to get a renewal quote. Basically gives you a way to kind of have an element of self-service in that process. And we will be looking to expand that functionality later in 2023 and 2024. So instead of just viewing the upcoming subscription information, we are looking at ways that you can just press a button to place the renewal order directly from the partner portal. And again, just trying to extend the automation of that process as much as possible. And if you have other recommendations for the partner portal, any other types of assets or materials you'd like to see, just shoot your partner manager a email, and we'll take that under consideration. But again, I think it's going to be a great resource. We already have, again, about 250 people who have created accounts in the portal. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, reach out to your partner manager and we can make sure that you have access. Another valuable resource that we've been talking about for a bit that's going to be coming out soon is SkyTab. And SkyTab, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like a hosted version of VMware, where we can create a preset collection of images that we can share out to you that you can then go ahead and use for demo purposes, for testing purposes, for proof of concepts. You can add your own files, configure your own application, create copies of those applications so that you can purpose those and add your own content. We are going to make available a collection of the drafting tools through SkyTab. So that will be pre-configured demo environments. Hopefully we'll have some demo scripts as well, so we can give some guidance on how to best practices for walking through those demos. But again, these resources are going to be a great way to give us a baseline of demonstrable collections of products that you can use to then go out and build your own demos and configure those demos to your clients. So again, we're just in the final phases of getting those images ready and being able to share them out. I'm hoping that that will happen in the next month or so. So again, watch this space, and we'll have more information published to the partner portal when it's available. And as we move forward into 2023, one thing I will say, we are making some changes to the global partner channel management team. I'm going to be managing the team globally, looking after strategic alignment, program management, business development. But I'm going to kind of step away from the day-to-day management of partners. Geldona is going to be picking up management of the APAC partners and the APAC region. Graham is going to be managing EMEA partners, and Andy is going to be managing US partners. So again, you'll see more and more as we transition to this new structure. I'll be kind of introducing you to Andy, Graham, or Geldona, depending on the region you're in, and they'll be able to be your primary focus of contact going forward. Okay, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Matt, who's going to share some recent product information with us. Matt. Hey, Matt, did I lose you?
Mute was on. Sorry, Joe.
No worries. No worries.
It's even telling me that mute was on too, just on this screen. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is kind of just to set the stage. As Joe mentioned, we'll go through product updates. We'll cover Q1 as well as what we're thinking about as we plan for Q2, some of the stuff we're looking to work on. So there are some disclaimers on the Q2 stuff, but all the Q1 stuff is pretty much in the hopper, and you should be seeing it here in the coming weeks. In general, at kind of a 10,000-foot view, drafting is going through a pretty heavy transformation. So we are taking all these monolithic desktop apps and moving them all to web services. This is all in the spirit of making them all work perfectly in concert with one another. The end state we want to be in is a series of web services, APIs that will consume via an Office add-in platform model, allowing all these applications, again, to work in concert with one another. Our users will be able to install one thing, have one administrator from us. They don't have to own everything from within the drafting suite, but they'll still just have the ability to install one piece of software, and then depending on what they're licensed for from us or from you as the partner, different capabilities will appear within the application. I kind of note here that we're building this series of building blocks. We are going to use those building blocks for our drafting capabilities, but you could imagine those building blocks would be very valuable in other lines of business at Litera if we wanted to easily integrate or create or compare solutions or proofreading solutions into other lines of business here at Litera. That would all be possible. These APIs could also be used in different no-code, low-code solutions that are available in market, like a Power Automate as an example, where you could stitch together different workflows or tasks seamlessly that kind of just happen automatically in the background. So that's the longer-term strategic vision there. We're making good progress on that. Next slide, please. Perfect. All right, so this is the core focus in terms of the themes that are driving the roadmap. These are largely our themes for 22 as well as for 23. The work we're undergoing is multi-year body of work. So the first one there is UX. Now, M&A was pretty heavy in drafting originally. So the core focus there was consolidating the backends, getting to a single engine for compare, getting to a single set of features and functions for create and for Metadact. And we're pretty close to that. Thus, some of the obsolescence stuff we'll be speaking to earlier, where we just need to stop fully supporting some of the legacy apps where we've merged their core capabilities into the go forward application. The big request from our customer base right now is I own a lot of drafting stuff. It needs to feel more like a cohesive suite of applications, like a Microsoft suite. So the focus is on that user experience. And I kind of alluded to it on the prior slide, but bringing everything together, everything that is basically sits inside Microsoft Word into a single unified experience. Again, that doesn't mean they have to own everything from us, but depending on what they're licensed for, one or more capabilities would be showing up within that single unified user experience. That new UX will come via a Microsoft Office add-in platform, which means we now have the ability to have the same user experience on a PC, Mac, Word Online, iPad. We code it once, it's available largely from anywhere on any type of device. So on the back end, to be able to achieve that, we'll be moving to a web services model, and some of our applications like Create have already gone that direction. And all those web services and all the features associated with those services will be wrapped with REST APIs. Again, we'll consume them in drafting via this new unified experience. We'll still have standalone applications for Metadact as well as Compare, as you'd expect, and those are going through UX modernizations as well. But again, the API is being very valuable for a multitude of reasons within the Litera ecosystem, as well as just the ability to create or connect drafting to any other legal technology service in the market. From a consolidation perspective, I started to talk about this. This has been a core focus. We should largely be coming out of this by the end of this year. A lot of the core functionality, the focus was never to bring 100% feature parity of a legacy app into the Go Forward app. It was to look at the 5 to 10 features of the legacy app that were being used 90% of the time, move that over to the Go Forward technology stack. That work is largely being wrapped up. We'll cover some of that as we move more specifically through the roadmaps here. And then just so everybody's aware, drafting releases 4 times a year. As we plan those quarterly releases, we always park about 30% of our capacity for maintenance. We have a very large number of customers, a very large monthly active user base on these core applications. So we want to make sure that we're being as responsive to the market as possible from a fix perspective. Next slide. All right, so this is a release summary. I won't spend too much time here. You'll be getting notifications about our Q1 release summary. Our marketing comms team will be sending out information shortly. But some of the highlights you'll see in that, we've got an update for Litera Create, for some of its in-app reporting capabilities. I'm going to talk about it more specifically here in a second. For drafting, we are looking to extend more into international. Obviously, we have several applications that work, the interfaces as well as the business logic work on a multilingual instances like our Compare, like PDF Docs. But Contract Companion in particular is one where we see a lot of interest in folks wanting to be able to proofread in other languages. Now, what I'm saying here is we're working on the ability for Contract Companion to proofread in French, German, Spanish. So that's coming, but hopefully late this year, early next year. But what we have done as part of our Q1 release is DocX Tools and Numbering Table of Contents and DocID. Those 2 solutions will have French, German, Spanish interfaces available to them as part of our Q1 release. Those applications would largely be agnostic to language. A style is a style largely in any language that you're looking at. For Compare, a big feature there was our selective compare functionality. I'll talk more about this in a second. It was a selective compare feature in Workshare Compare. And then for Metadact, we're going to see a new web app get released here. More to come on that in the coming slides. All right, perfect. All right, so Q1, these again, not everything we've done, but we call it the moments that matter, the big things that we're releasing as part of Q1. The first one, we are not releasing it. I'm just reiterating that it is a core focus for us quarter over quarter, and that is that cloud transformation. Our Create application has moved to that web services model and API set, but the rest of the drafting products are heavily focused on moving from a monolithic desktop app to a web services model. What we want to get to is, instead of all these different, what were legacy point solutions on different technologies and different technology stacks, to get to that one single unified technology stack and common set of REST APIs, so that we can have that single unified drafting experience within Word, as well as modern standalone apps for things like Compare and Metadact. For the middle column there, in-app usage reporting, this is a big request across all drafting applications. Users want to know at what frequency, who's using the applications and at what frequency. So we have started to add some in-app usage capabilities for certain products. Customers can request this today. So there is still the ability. We have telemetry data in all the go-forward applications. We use Microsoft Application Insights currently to see that information. So if one of your customers ever wanted to know what users were using it and at what frequency, we can report on that. We have nice reports we can provide, but it's more proactive, reactive. From a proactive perspective, what we're looking to do is add some of those capabilities back into the application. So Latera Create will have the ability to tell an administrator what content is most frequently used, what templates are most frequently being used, and by whom at the firm. You can imagine if you're a law firm, you spent a lot of time, especially in the KM departments, knowledge management departments, curating that content. It would be very valuable to know of that content that you spent all that time on, what is the most valuable of that valuable content. For the recommendation search, this is an enhancement to our Create content. So Create a full suite. It has both templates and content reuse. We'll call this recommendations search on the fringe of generative capabilities, and I do mean fringe. But we are looking at generative capabilities right now for our Create applications. Happy to take questions on that if that's coming up. But what we're allowing you to do currently in the application is select text in the document, ask the application for a recommendation, and we would generate a series of clauses specific to your document management system or to the firm specific content that might be better to use than what you're currently using in the document. That's what happens today. What's going to happen as part of the Q1 release is the user will now be able to just open the task pane without selecting content, free type any phrase or term they want, and we'll generate a series of documents or clauses that might be best for them to use based on their search criteria. Again, that is all firm specific. So the recommendations engine as part of its setup gets pointed to your document management system, and then it has the intelligence to break documents down at a clause level, decorate them automatically with metadata, so that all that we have certain filtering capabilities as well as content that is all firm specific. Next slide, please. All right, on the multilingual support, this is where I was mentioning we do have grander things coming, especially in our proofreading space where we have a lot of requests to be able to proofread in other languages. But what we'd like to kind of button up minimally by this year is have all the interfaces for drafting applications be available in French, German, and Spanish. So the next two that just got completed are our Latera numbering, which is our numbering, table of contents, and doc ID solution that comes free of charge with docx tools, as well as our Create applications. You can also buy it standalone, but that will be available as part of our Q1 release. Selective compare is, so in Latera Compare today, users have clipboard compare, but it's isolated to the application that they're in. So if you're in Word and you've chosen clipboard compare, you can only grab 2 pieces of content from within Word. And then the output, the track changes, kind of visual output of changes is very limited within that particular visual in Microsoft, that Office application. So what Selective Compare will allow you to do is pick any 2 pieces of content from any 2 disparate sources, compare them to one another, and get the full comparison track changes output that you'd want, the full rich experience. The last one here is for our Metadact server application. So if you are a Metadact server customer, the O365 web app would be available at no additional charge. It is a requirement to use it that you have a Metadact server, your own Metadact server stood up. We'll potentially look to host Metadact capabilities or cleaning capabilities in the future, but not currently available. But We do see this as a big upsell opportunity. We have a ton of current customers are still on Medidata Desktop. We see a lot of customers wanting to be able to clean from anywhere on any device. The web app gives the user the same user experience, PC, Mac, Outlook Web Access, and it gives them now those the easier to use cleaning controls that they can pick from the web apps interface. Next slide, please. All right, so then what does some of this stuff look like? This is the new recommendations capability that I was mentioning in Create. We now have the ability to open the task pane without selecting text and immediately start searching. So the search bar you see at the top is new. And then what you can see there is I'm typing the term subsidiary, and you can see that it's saying subsidiary guarantee agreement contract subsidiaries dash clause. So we're returning both. We're generating both a list of contracts, whole documents that they could use, as well as clauses that they could use via just typing directly into Word. Again, that is firm-specific content curated based on their document management system. Either NetDocs or iManage are the two primary ones we integrate with, and we do enforce any ethical wall restriction that might be applied to a particular contract or piece of content within the document management system. That all flows through to the app. Next screen, please. This is Selective Compare and what it will look like. This is it inside Microsoft Word, but again, you can pick any piece of original content from a Word document, website, wherever it may be, compare it to a modified piece of content from wherever that may be, and then get that richer experience from a track changes output. Big feature request in Workshare Compare. So as we look to expire that particular product and migrate those customers to Latera Compare, this is going to make that easier, and it just makes Latera Compare customers, so it's a bigger request for customers on Latera Compare, so making them stickier and happier with the current solution. Next slide. And this is the Medidata O365 web app. So again, that web app experience will be the same experience on a PC, Mac, or Outlook Web Access, and it gives the user indications of cleaning risks, different types of over different file types. You can see the different cleaning options to apply. You can do it at a single file level or at all the files within whatever's attached to the particular email. It just gives them some basic override capabilities for whatever the policies might be set on the server. Again, a big request. We see a lot of uptick in server-based sales, not only for Medidata, but also Latera Compare. Predominant amount of our customers for Compare as well are on desktop. A huge uptick in sales last year from a server and that web app that we released for Compare last year. Next slide. All right, so this is going into Q2 now. We are planning Q2, so these will come with some disclaimers that this is what we hope to achieve as part of Q2. I won't spend too much time here, but we've got some updates coming for Compare, a new monitoring service for Medidata just to help with be more proactive around outages. For Create, we integrate the Create content piece integrates with iManage, so we can pull like content at rest in iManage directly into the document while you're using Create in Microsoft Word. We'll have that same capability for NetDocs. And then we're looking at some other proof of concept stuff around Power Automate and generative AI capabilities. Not the Power Automate stuff would apply to anything that has an API, and then the generative AI specifically being looked at for Create, as well as our proofreading applications. Next slide, please. All right, so in terms of what this stuff looks like, I should also kind of call out at the bottom there, our Q2 release right now is slated for July. I know that's not, that's slightly outside the bounds of Q2, but that's just when we post stuff to our customer center and make it available to the customer center, it bleeds a little bit into Q3. So the first one there is just browsing iManage. This is a big request from our customers. Can we kind of remember the last place they left off, the last time they navigated to a spot in iManage? It's just reducing the clicks. It's a nice little UX improvement we've had for some of our bigger customers. We'll look to bring that into Compare. As we keep getting feedback on the O365 web app, Reporting wasn't something we had in the initial release. That web app does very well, and it does have integration with iManage, both on-prem as well as the cloud versions, as iManage kind of moves everybody to cloud. And some basic reporting capabilities is kind of the next big request from that user group. So we'll add the export changed pages only feature. We'll add that as an enhancement to our O365 web app that is out for Compare. Again, that's a web app that is at no additional charge for our Compare server customers. And then we've got an update to the iManage SDK. We obviously have a lot of integrations with different applications. Excuse me, iManage Net Documents probably being the two biggest, and they've got a new SDK coming out. It's soon to be released, and we'll have some enhanced capabilities there for Compare with accessing that SDK. Next slide, please. For Medidata, we're adding a monitoring service. So you'll be able to, it's basically a service that you can then point to your current monitoring capabilities that you've got at your organization. So you can be alerted if there's a potential outage or problem with Medidata. Right now, we have limited reporting capabilities, and oftentimes you're finding out about an issue with Medidata by your users, which is not optimal. So to be more proactive on that, we're looking to add a monitoring service, which again, you can integrate with your current solutions where you're already doing some monitoring. Down the middle here, improper redactions is a big request from, or it was a popular feature in Compare docs. So as mentioned, Latera Compare is a combination of, and all of our consolidation work is a combination of legacy applications on the most sound technology stack. So for Compare docs, we'll look to bring over the, excuse me, for Clean Docs, we'll look to move over the improper redactions capability into Medidata, excuse me. That's for Medidata. We are currently bringing over the enhanced recipient confirmations capabilities in Q1, and then in Q2, we'll bring improper redactions in. For content, Latera Create content, we'll add the Net Documents integration. I started to mention we have iManage today. That is currently available, integrating with other data sources so that you can access that content at rest directly within our Create content application is kind of a core capability set. We've got iManage, we'll add Net Documents. We'll also look to do more with Kira in the coming quarters. And this is also, again, where we're looking at the generative capabilities. Next slide, please. So Latera Create today does offer the ability to sell a hosted option. Right now, it is only single tenant. Ideally, will be on multi-tenant by the end of 2023. So we're working on multi-tenancy right now. If you want to sell a customer a single tenant instance of Latera Create, you can do that. Those hosting costs from us are $25,000. We use Cloud Health to monitor usage and costs, and that we're not making largely any margins on that. That is just the cost. It basically costs us to keep those up with the different security services and that type of stuff on that system. So that is the cost. That is a yearly cost that the customer would pay back to us. Obviously, we're looking to reduce those costs pretty significantly as we move to multi-tenant. Latera Create can also just be deployed on-prem. So if they don't want hosting or the cost of the hosting, the single tenant is just a sticker shock for them. No big deal. We can deploy it on their on-prem servers. If a customer wants more than one server, so that initial $25,000, they have multiple geos that they can pick from. We got US Central, Canada, UK, EU, Australia, and Singapore. They can pick the geo they want. That'll get them, that's what the 25K spend will do. If they want to add a second server in any one of those geos to help with potential latency issues, that type of stuff, it's $1,700. We basically we don't have to do as much setup, and we're essentially cloning the prior instance and standing it up in another geo. Next slide. All right, we're moving out of, so a lot of product updates there. If you've got questions on anything I just covered, just drop them in the chat. We'll pick them up in the Q&A section. I'm going to move out of product updates into end of life updates now. Next slide, please. All right, so this kind of just sets the table for us. The policy did go into effect in 2021. So we've been trying to, in September, we had dates for a lot of these products that are going expired this year. So they, some customers will come back and say, oh, I'm just now finding out about the expiration date. We are looking to be more proactive about notifying the customer base in different mediums about products that are going expired. Ideally, these customers are know well in advance, minimally 12 months, maximally 24 months in advance of these products going expired, that this is happening. So the obsolescence policy set out to do that when we released it in 2021. We need to do, obviously, we've realized we need to do additional messaging. So we are messaging, our marketing comms team is now messaging specifically on products that are going end of life within the next 12 months, very proactively to the customer base, and then has a cadence, like a quarterly cadence, reminding folks of that. The obsolescence policy, basically, when we released it, it helps us with largely two things. One is from a support perspective. Obviously, we have a lot of applications we need to support, and we want to have top tier support. So we're supporting something that is 20 years old and is a non-go forward application isn't optimal from us, as well as from a development perspective. So we're supporting, for our go forward applications, the last 4 versions back. So it gives customers a chance over a 12-month time period to take any one of those 4 releases. The thing to note about drafting applications, and even for the ones that are expiring at the end of this year, is they will not just stop working. So these aren't SaaS-based applications that we're shutting a server off and it's just going to be dead and those customers are dead. They will continue to work. What we're saying is they're more expired from us. So if a customer is using CleanDocs past 12/31 of this year, that's fine. They can keep using it. Ideally, they've moved over to the go forward application, but if they're not ready to move for whatever reason, that's okay. App's still going to work. If they called the support team is just not going to, well, they'll take their call. They're just going to tell them that we need to move you to a supported version of the application, to the go forward application. So that's important to know. The stuff doesn't just stop working. If you take the obsolescence policy out of play entirely, let's say we never wrote the thing, our standard in terms of how we fix things was always forward. So even if something broke in, let's say you are on a current version of Latera Compare, you took, let's say you took Q1's release, last year's Q1 release of Latera Compare, so you're about to be outside of our obsolescence policy because we're about to release in Q1. If something broke on that app in Q2, we would have had you upgrade to the latest version. We would have only fixed that thing for you in the latest, in the Q2 version of that particular release. So you would have always had to move to the latest version minimally of that particular application. We haven't patched or done DLL drops in 7+ years at this point. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so this is what the world looked like in 2022. These are the applications that were going expired quarter over quarter. This should hopefully just be a reminder. Obviously, the application name on the left was what would have been the legacy expiring application. The application on the right is what the customer could have moved to largely at no additional cost. Largely at no additional cost. I mean, MacPack was unique when we bought that company, the Sackett Group. They were not allowing MacPack customers to get Forte at no additional charge. So that's just some legacy stuff going on there. But you can see everything else did have a go forward path in 2022. Next slide. All right. Okay, so 2023, nothing's expiring until Q4 this year, but when things start expiring this year, CleanDocs will go expired. The core features and functions of CleanDocs, as we see them and as we've heard from our customer base, have been migrated forward. The big ones for CleanDocs with that enhanced recipient confirmations, as well as the improper redaction. So the improper redactions will show up in Q2, but still plenty of time for the customers to move. And that go forward application is Metadact. Again, CleanDocs won't just stop working, but we ideally want to move them to Metadact. Those DocsCorp applications, CleanDocs in particular, 99.999% of all CleanDocs customers were desktop. So there is upsell opportunity to sell them to Metadact Server or our Metadact Premier SKU, which includes both desktop and server. Value add would be they get the O365 web app that comes with Metadact Server that will be out here in the next couple weeks. For CompareDocs, similarly, predominant amount of the customer base was on desktop Compare. There's an upsell opportunity to Latera Compare Server, so the bundled Compare, where they have both access to both desktop and server, and then again a value add being they can now have the access to the O365 web app. For Compare at no additional charge, we also added email-based comparison workflow to Comparison Server. So if you have Compare Server, not only do you get the web app, but you can also just attach 2 documents to an email, send it to the server, get a red line back. We're getting really good feedback on that and a lot of positive usage there. And then Workshare Compare, Selective Compare was the big feature we pulled forward. That's coming out right now, and those customers will all migrate to Latera Compare. Next slide. All right, so as I mentioned, we realize we can be better about messaging and making sure you, as well as the customer base, is just more informed, and we're more frequently hitting you with this messaging. The first one might not get through, you might just delete it, but we want to continue to message you so that you do feel like you're being kept up to date on what's expiring when, and we want to arm the customer base and folks like yourselves on the phone with additional resources to make this a very seamless and painless move to the go forward application set. So we have, as of yesterday, we sent another set of comms out. This is what it looked like that the customers would have been notified about. Next slide, we'll talk about some additional resourcing. Oh, Joe, did you have a comment there?
Matt, let me just say one thing. So
yeah.
This was a customer, this is just an example of one of the correspondences that we've been sending out. Over a month ago, we did send out a notice to our partner communities. So all of you should have received messaging around what this will mean for clients that you manage, along with some of the resources that Matt's going to discuss on the next slide. So
yeah,
just to give you an update, this is not a one-time process. We are looking at ways we can do this from a multi-channel perspective. So not just via email, but also the partner portal is going to be a good way. We're going to announce some of this stuff, as well as that support policy and the support version and obsolescence policy document, which lives on the Customer Center. And that is a living document, meaning that it's updated regularly, and you can set notifications on it if you want to get a notice every time a change is made to that document.
All right, so as mentioned, we want to provide more resources to yourselves, to our customer base, to make the move to the go forward applications as seamless as possible. So one thing we're doing is just a webinar series around changing from the legacy application to the new application. These are the dates that we currently have set up across the different applications there. And ideally what you're learning at each one of these webinars is I used to click on these core functions in the old app. Where is that functionality in the new application to just help ease with that change management? What you'll see on the, Joe, if you can go to the next slide, we've also got, and this is kind of just some text here, but we've also got in the partner portal, we've built documents. So we've built a multitude of documents to help with change management as well. So we've got the webinars, we've also got supporting documentation. That documentation is a feature matrix. So if you want to know very specifically, it had all these features in CleanDocs and CompareDocs. Do all of those features exist and more in the go forward application? The answer is yes. We've got a matrix to point that out, a table that you can send to your customer base. We also have transition documents. So for the applications interfaces, CompareDocs and CleanDocs ribbons and interfaces and user experience look like this. And I used to do these core workflows. here's exactly those core workflows and feature sets in the Go Forward application in documentation form. That's also, all of this will also be a core focus for the webinar series, the dates you just saw in the prior slide. So that's what we're saying here on this slide for you.
Matt, let me just say one other thing around the resources that are available. So for those of you with DocsCorp, have worked with DocsCorp solutions, the Go Forward products of Litera Compare and Medidect do have a number of enhanced adoption resources that are available within the Customer Center. So if you go into the Customer Center, you click on adoption, you'll see the available like SCORM files that are available for Litera Compare or videos, all of that stuff that are going to help you as you kind of start the journey with your customers from either CleanDocs or CompareDocs to the Go Forward product. So use those adoption resources. There's a great resource available to you today. Now, some of you are going to be managing clients that are on maintenance contracts for CleanDocs, CompareDocs, or Workshare Compare. There are going to have to be migration discussions around pricing to get them up to subscription. I've included some guidance on that in the partner communications that were sent out about a month ago. But any other questions on how that's going to look or how you should start working on those, please contact either your local channel manager or the local AE, the local Litera account manager that you work with. Again, everybody's kind of briefed on this and knows how to answer your questions going forward. Matt, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, no. Hopefully this is all good stuff. If you guys, I'd say, you know, for the partners and folks who are on the phone, if there is more resources or you're hearing stuff from your customers where they'd like additional resources, do let myself and Joe know. I think there's areas in the partner portal to leave some like feedback like that. Again, let us know. We're trying to be as helpful as possible as we look to move some of these customers off old apps to new apps.
Thank you. And I'll just finish on a couple of slides here of what this means for you and how to get started. So for partners, the end of life migration process is going to allow you to engage with clients that are on legacy software that you might not have talked to in a while. I know there's a lot of you out there that are managing clients that have been using the same software for 5 or 6 years, and I don't know that we've had much engagement about, hey, how their needs have changed or whether or not they are looking to add additional services and solutions that Litera can now provide. This is a great opportunity to reach out to those clients and see if there are any upsell opportunities that that might be available. And also additional features that are going to be in the Go Forward products that they currently don't have access to. Now, once you've kind of identified those upsell opportunities and worked out a migration plan with the Go Forward products, that's going to allow you to develop migration strategies and tools that you can offer to your clients, right? So again, Litera doesn't want to do all this work direct. We want to enable you as our channel partners to do as much of this work as possible and allow you to make money on those services. So again, developing a migration strategy based on the resources that we're going to be making available, the webinars that we're going to be hosting, all of that stuff, again, is going to be a great, it should be a nice revenue model for you as you look to migrate your clients. And then finally, just from a recognition point of view, you will be able to recognize all of the uplifted amount that you get on those, converting those maintenance contracts to subscription. You'll be able to recognize that as new license revenue and be eligible for your margin on that. So again, there's a few incentives, I believe, financial incentives for you in place to be able to help move these migrations forward as we move into towards the end of 2023. What do you do next? Again, the first thing is clients have been notified through the customer center, through the mailing yesterday. They'll be continued to be notified and receive invitations for upcoming webinars. start having conversations with them about what the migration from expiring products means for them. Some of them will be reluctant to move. We understand that. We want to make it as flexible as possible. We'll try to get, we have those customers on expiring subscription products already have subscriptions in the customer center to the go forward products, so they can start testing. They can start looking at the new products and building out a migration plan. And you can help them do that. We're available, again, as a channel partner team, as the kind of global sales team. We can help on a client by client basis identify what needs to happen and how to move forward with that. And as always, try to turn it into a positive in terms of how we can add additional services for these clients based on what their requirements are. And that might include some upsell opportunities to other drafting products, including Check, the Check bundle, or Review, which is a new product that came out a couple of years ago, or even the Tira Desktop Suite. Okay, so with that, I'm going to thank Matt for his time, and just going to check my phone for any questions that have come in. Sam, I'm not sure if you've been able to send through questions, or Matt, if you can access the chat panel to see what questions are there.
I think there's one. When will implementation partners get access to Create in the Cloud? Not just for demoing and selling, but building documents. So so soon, hopefully soon. One of the core things we needed to button up there from my end and engineering side is some of the designer tools weren't totally buttoned up for us to be able to then train our partners and give you instances where you can do some of that design work. The designer function should be done here in the next several months, in which case then we can light up Create instances, obviously, ideally within the SkyTap instances for everybody. Obviously, we'll have a training program as part of that, so you know how to design within these particular systems. So our goal would be by the end of Q2 is what we're shooting for, and we can keep the group here updated as we make progress.
Sam or Matt, any other questions that have come through that we can answer?
Yep, there were two more questions, gentlemen, in the chat that I sent over to you.
There's a question.
Take a look. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, so another question, how does it, so Matt, this is a product for you. Does it exist a planned date for OpenText Info Center integration with Compare?
We should have, we have it on the roadmap. I don't know the date. We can get that. We can come back on that for everybody. I know it's there. In all honesty, we kind of prioritize iManage and NetDocs first, just be based on the percentage of our customer base with those DMSs. We'll look at where we are with eDocs for Compare. I know that is used a bit more down market.
I know there are questions regarding what we're going to do for maintenance contracts for expiring products that have been renewed and go into 2024. We are working out a few open questions internally that will be, hopefully we'll have answers for in the next couple weeks. So watch this space. I'll have more information to share with you soon on that. And then finally, will customers be informed of the changes? Yes, they have already been informed through, again, the customer center as well as the client communications, which have started, and will continue to send out those notifications. However, as Matt has said, and as I know from experience, email is a flawed delivery mechanism, and it's difficult to get emails in front of people all the time. So that's why the conversations that you're going to have with partners is going to be super important as well. So, and with that, let me just check. I think there's one more question that came through. If a client is currently On a subscription contract for Workshare Compare, does that entitle them to install Latera Compare? Yes. So they can access Latera Compare from the Customer Center. Just for everyone's knowledge here, when you renew a subscription, the subscription on CleanDocs, CompareDocs, or Workshare Compare, you're given access to a subscription for the Go Forward product automatically, and that subscription shows up in the customer portal. So you can start you have a license, and you can access the software to download immediately. This session will be shared with partners. We'll be sending out a recording to those who couldn't attend, as well as in the follow-up email, you'll have access to the recording as well. So I think that was it. So with that, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Matt, for your presentation. And thank you in advance for kind of the support you're going to be given throughout the year on these migrations. We know it's going to be sometimes some difficult conversations, but again, I think having these resources and having these conversations is going to help us make it a successful year. So thanks so much for all your time. Appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye.